This video is a replay of a trade I took today. Now, it probably goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway. I am not a financial advisor, and trading entails risk. Just because I got these results today doesn't mean that I can get these every day, nor that you can. Remember, the entire premise of the investing project and the $1 million experiment is that I am not an expert, and yet I am learning how to do this. So for heaven's sake, don't just blindly copy me. Instead, find a mentor, someone who is an expert, and join their community. Pay for their mentorship. This approach has worked very well for me, and it likely will for you too. So use this video partly as education and partly as inspiration. After all, if I can learn this, you can too. So pretty good trading day today, although it will come as no surprise to you to learn that I did something a little bit stupid, but by and large, still managed to make some money. So what was going on here was you can see that the Russell was shooting way up, while on the other indexes were shooting up as well, but the YM was selling off heavily. Anyway, it looked like Russell had overextended itself to the top, and I was able to get in with about 90 ticks of risk. So that was pretty good. So that I got into there, and it started to sell off rather energetically. So I'll up the speed a little bit so we can look at this. And I'll get ready to pause it because I want to show you what I did. So you can see here, let's just look at everything. You can see that it's starting to sell off, and that's pretty decent. Now, somewhere along the way here, I think we get to about 80 ticks in the right direction here, selling off. And we start to see, let me pause this for a second. We start to see some interest, some energy from the NASDAQ and a little bit from the S&P getting ready to head up a little bit. So I think it was around this time that I decided to pull this to break even, just to make sure I didn't end up getting snapped back and losing substantially. But it wasn't done. It continued to sell off a little bit further, I think, yes. So right around here is where I moved this stop down and said, okay, if the NQ and the ES are going to take off upward, I don't want to miss that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my sell order right. I'm going to follow down the stop right at the top of each of these red bars. So somewhere along the way, this triggers the sale, and I'll be out of it. Now, meanwhile, back at the YM, I was looking at, so you see NQ and ES starting to, or at least the NQ starting to head upwards. I actually put a buy order in on the YM for right above this red candle. And so if we let this thing play now, you'll see that at some point fairly shortly here, I end up stopping out. I think I actually ended up getting into the YM before I stopped out of the Russell. There we are. And so I was able to be in with the full size on both these trades heading in opposite directions. And I've locked in, meanwhile, some profit on the Russell here by moving my stop down. You can see it's still flirting with going even lower. In fact, I think I went a little lower here. I think I ended up coming down to about here and locking that in. Now, I ended up getting taken out, and that was perfectly fine. I got taken out with a $121 profit. And meanwhile, the YM is starting to follow suit, and you can seriously see the ES beginning to take off and follow the NQ upwards here. And right around 80 handles in the right direction, I moved this to even and just said, you know what, I've got errands to run today, and I don't want to have to babysit this. So I put it to even, and I went about my errands. And what I discovered is that this ended up moving nicely in the positive direction, although it took quite a long time for it to do it. But here it's already moved 100 handles in the right direction, and now I've split the contracts, and 3 of them are following 100 points behind the high. And so that carried on. And what time is it now? It's about 7:45 Pacific time. Now, I left to do some more errands right around 10:05 Pacific time. So that's in a little over 2 hours and 10 minutes from this timestamp. And it took about that amount of time for this to eventually make its way up and finally trigger the first target. So you may want to fast forward the playback here. I'm going to let it go ahead and play and just watch it. But if you get bored, feel free to fast forward that and have a look at it. Because it was shortly after that I did the thing that was stupid. And the thing that was stupid is I normally, when I set this bracket up to run the way it's supposed to run, I like to just let it do its thing, leave it alone. And well, I don't like to do that actually. I should do that. What I like to do is mess around with it. And whenever I mess around with it, I invariably make it worse. So what happens here is this is going up. It almost triggers. You'll see it in a second. It almost triggers. It comes like I think to literally within a fraction of a tick of my target here before retracting a little bit, retracing. Let me actually zoom in on this. Can we see that better? Yeah, that's a little bit better. We can actually watch the festivities a bit more. And so what I ended up doing here is I also moved the second target. This is getting up to be where the dumb thing happens. I moved it up a little bit so it was right under this swing low here. Now, I don't mess this up until after this has triggered, which now it's 8:45, so we've got another hour and a little bit to go, I think, before this happens. But the long and short of it is that this comes up, triggers this level. I get my, I guess that's $300. That's no, $300. I think it's $300 that I get once this triggers with 3 contracts. Yeah, that's right. And so that's all well and good. But once that happens, I decide to move this second stop up a little bit further. And I think I ended up, well, I certainly ended up making it just a shade too tight, because then I got taken out at a level right around the 198, 199. I ended up getting taken out. And so my second set, even though the index did make it back up to this high, and I would certainly have been able to capture my next 450 points here for a total of 750. I would have been able to do that. Sadly, I didn't do it because I ended up settling for about $250 less by making the stop just a little bit too tight. That was the stupid thing. But you know what? Such is life. So look at this. It almost triggers twice. It's sitting there just teasing me. Look at that. There's not even any daylight there. It made it all the way up there, didn't trigger, and just came back and taunted me. And so, you know, times like this, I just left the room, let it do its thing. And sure enough, it came back and it did trigger. And so this is 10:06 a.m. And this is the point where, let me pause it for a second. This is the point where I stupidly moved this up. And I'm just trying to figure out now, where did I move it up to? Because I wasn't here to see this. I think I took this swing low. I think I took the swing low and I moved it right up to there. Yeah, that would make sense. Right about here, 53219, I think is probably what I did, because that's where these things got triggered, right there. Now, you'll see as I hit play here, you'll see what happens to this. Where's my target? There it is. And so, and this is the first time I'm seeing this too, that looked like it would be a pretty safe place to place this. And so by this point, I'm out running errands, not watching this at all. And so right around here, I guess, it must have retraced and taken me out. Isn't that annoying? Well, yeah, that's the way it goes. I wanted to lock in the profits and make sure I didn't give it all back. And so I didn't. That made my day about a $651 day, $652, I guess, which is fine. But I could have potted an extra $200, $225 if I'd stayed in the trade all the way up to the level, which it's going to hit, as you'll see shortly. It does eventually go back up there and hit the target right around here. And sadly, I was not in it, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, no need to watch to the very bitter end. The fact is, I'm out of the trade by this point. But you know, I'll take the $652. It's a nice way to start the week. So there we go.